Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Silver Stars of today and tomorrow, thank you so much for joining us at this 20th celebration of the Silver Stars. Hopefully you've got your meals. We're going to have a fantastic evening. My name's Tony Carvajal, and I'm invited back to serve as MC at one of my favorite events. I think that you're going to find how tiring it is to hear all the work that these Silver Stars do day in and day out, and I aspire to be half as good as they are. This is another fantastic evening here at the University Center Club for the 2022 Silver Stars Award celebration. And there's so much that you can see in here, from the past honorees, how wonderful the group is, to the sponsors who make this all possible. I'd like to welcome you to this 20th anniversary of this fantastic and fabulous Silver Stars event. It's brought to you by the Tallahassee Senior Center and our longtime sponsors and friends at Capital Health Plan. Good evening, and on behalf of the Senior Center and Foundation, we are honored to have recognized 169 previous Silver Stars since 2001. The idea to recognize people for their accomplishments after the age of 60 came at a time when a lot of people thought once someone reaches a certain older age, they become less active. Nothing can obviously be more untrue. I think over the past 20 years, Silver Stars have certainly defied that stereotype and proven that many older adults in our community contribute as much or as more as those of us working or younger years. Silver Stars are examples of how much our community benefits from this generation. I know you're seated amongst them. There's some here that are past Silver Stars. We'll recognize them in just a moment. But there are so many fantastic family members that hopefully are aspiring to be just like you in this stage. The first Silver Stars were recognized in 2001 as part of the Active Living Expo at the Tallahassee Community College. Was anybody here for that first one other than Sheila? Sheila, were you even here for that first one? Yeah. Oh, that's right. Scott. I think I see a few other hands. Fantastic. Some of you may remember that event transitioned to the auditorium at the Tallahassee Senior Center. And you might also remember that you couldn't move. I mean, we could literally not fit another table in that room and serve dinners at the same time. And I know that if we're going to convene at this time, we're going to have some dinners going on. Another venue had to be found to host this growing event, and in 2008, our friends at Capital Health Plan stepped up to take ownership as the presenting sponsor role. Thank you so much, Capital Health Plan, for making this possible to get to this point. They provided the initial support needed to move here to our new home, now the Dunlap Champions Club. Silver Stars span our community as professors, artists, musicians, caregivers, athletes, ministers, community volunteers, leaders, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. I think we've even had great-great-grands. There are a few past Silver Stars here this evening, and if you don't mind, would you just stand? I'd like to go ahead and recognize you that you're joining us this evening. Thank you so much. You'll see some of those. Dot Skofernick, Ann Claire, Nancy Goodett, the Honorable Marjorie Turnbull, Betty King, Tenny Jackson, Charles Hazlip. And if I apologize if I've missed anybody, please just pull me over to the side later on and I'll be happy to recognize you as well. But if you pull up the Silver Stars program, you can see from the very beginning all the Silver Stars that are recognized. And I think one of the most amazing things year after year is how so many of these individuals are still engaged in our communities. There is something about giving back and giving to your community that makes longevity a fantastic coincidence.
Good evening, everyone. 2 decades in for the Silver Star Awards, and to recapitulate what my partner in crime, Mr. Carvajal, said, 169 honorees during those 20 years. We have additional honorees this evening, and when you put all the numbers together, it's not just a gathering of stars. I think it is, as Amy said, an entire galaxy, perhaps a grouping of galaxies, as we're now seeing with that new telescope that they just sent up into space. So before we have any more space in the program, let's get going with the actual meat of the matter, as it were, unless of course you're a vegan. My name, by the way, is Tom Flanagan. I'm with WFSU Public Media, and we are ready to introduce you to the 2022 Silver Stars and their interviewees, who are fourth grade students from Anne Marie Small's fourth grade class at Cornerstone Learning Community. You guys rock! Now, as has become traditional here for this event, a big highlight of the evening, the video interviews that each student conducted with their Silver Star. And we're getting to that right now, okay? Now, we also ask you to look in your program, because each of the Silver Stars' mini biographies is included therein, and you can even take it home with you, which is a great additional feature, I think. As you'll see, an entire book really could be composed about each and every one of our Silver Stars. And I'm just going to highlight some of the most prominent accomplishments that they have done. And we want to thank Jamison Red and the Cornerstone Learning Community students, and you'll get to know each one of these good folks better through those interviews. You guys ready to get started? All right, as I give your name, please approach the podium, come on up on the stairs, the appropriate stairs, and then we'll show the video. Our first Silver Star of the evening for 2022 is Laurie Hosford, interviewed by Jack Hansen. Come on up, Laurie. Laurie Hosford, professional writer, editor, Florida State University graduate, and for the past 17 years, the Tallahassee Senior Center's Writers Workshop teacher, and is, by the way, looking forward to being published again. But what he really delights in is seeing his students be published for their works, and you can read about some of them in your program. So if you could turn your attention up to the screens, let's see what keeps Laurie Hosford active.
Mr. Laurie, what was your childhood like?
I was born in 1936, May the 4th, in a little town called Branford, Florida. It was kind of like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. We all ran around barefooted. And the biggest deal of the day was to go down and watch the train go by.
What was your favorite thing to do when you were 10 years old?
Branford had two springs, one right by the Swanee River, and my biggest deal was to go swimming in that spring.
Wow, that sounds fun.
But I left Branford and came to Tallahassee in 1946 at age 10. This town here was 15,000 people.
Mr. Laurie, what are you most proud of?
Most proud of my service to my country, which I gave 13 years to the military, flying airplanes such as the B-47 and the B-52. And then later in my career, I flew the fighter, an F-84F, which I always wanted to do, and I got to do that.
Mr. Laurie, what do you do to stay active?
I love to play golf. I've been playing golf since I was in the military. I started playing the golf. But today, the biggest thing I do is work in my 2.5 acres. And then when I have spare time, I write. I have written 4 novels, been published 1 time, but I'm not given up, even though I'm elderly. I love to write.
Tell me about the Writers' Workshop at the Senior Center.
Here at the Senior Center, we have what we call a Writers' Workshop. All the writers meet in a room and they read what they have written the previous week, and we all help each other to improve the work. Right now, almost everyone has been published except one lady, and she's just about to be published, and we're pretty excited about that.
What volunteer work do you do?
I volunteer here at the Senior Center because I think it's the greatest thing for seniors. when we get to be our age, we need to do something to help other people, and that's why I'm here. They treat me very well here, and they have for the last 17 years.
Tell me about your family.
Well, I have a wife that's hung around about 47 years, and she keeps me straight most of the time. She keeps the calendar and keeps me out of trouble. I have one daughter, one granddaughter, and one great-grandchild this past year, so I'm a great-grandfather right now.
Mr. Laurie, what advice would you give someone my age?
I would just say, never be afraid to try anything new, and never give up on yourself.
Tell me about your story that was in the Tallahassee magazine.
This is a story about a tiny panther kitten that was saved by a wildlife officer who is a distant cousin of mine. He was a wildlife officer, and he found the mother of this kitten killed on the road on Alligator Alley, and the kitten was a tiny thing. He raised that kitten until he weighed 150 pounds, and none of his friends would come to see him because of this panther that lived with him. So he had to take the panther and put it into a living place, which they have. And as we last checked, Hajo, the little kitten, is still alive, and he would be 15 years old now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Laurie Hosford. Now we have a few other little errata to throw in here on Laurie's presentation. Of course, Laurie gets a lot of inspiration from his perch in his condo at Cape San Blas with his wife of 47 years, Karen. Happy, as he said in your great interview, Jack, that the Writers' Workshop is back on the Tallahassee Senior Center schedule every week on Thursday evenings. Workshop participants span a range of ages from 30s to mid-80s. Anyone is welcome to attend the class if they have the desire to write. So you may want to drop out and give it a try and learn from a real master of wordsmithing. And I've only got about 14 years to go until we're the same age, Laurie, and I hope I can be as active at your age as you are. We also have a special recognition before you sit down. I believe you got some friends and neighbors who live in the Chicagoland area.
Yes, I do.
They could not be here this evening, but they want to honor you with your own Galaxy Star at the Tallahassee Senior Center. And the star says, Laurie Hosford, a shining star to us all. Congrats from the claps. This will go back on the wall, Laurie. Congratulations, Laurie Hosford. Here, you will say something? Go right ahead.
I don't believe that I've been flattered this much in my entire life. That writer's workshop that I'm working with is not work. It's an absolute joy to work with these people and get their books published, memoirs published. So I thank you very much for your attention. Young Jack here is a fine young man. He's got his future. I wish I was that young. Thanks for coming.
All righty, our next Silver Star recipient is Shirley Gooding-Butler, interviewed by Gilberto Bennett. Now, in retirement, Shirley didn't stay home very long before getting involved with her community and more active at Bethel AME Church. Her goal is to contribute to others by what she has learned and how it has helped her. And we have a video to teach us a little bit more about Shirley Gooding-Butler.
Miss Shirley, tell me about yourself. I am a graduate of Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee, which is home for me. I've been in Florida for a number of years. I'm active in my church and the community.
Why did you want to open your own store?
One evening, it just dawned on me that I had a building that was vacant, except one side I rented out. And I thought about why not open up a clothing store? I have clothes, friends have clothes that they want to get rid of. The South Side is an area that could use some of these really good clothes. So I decided to open up the clothing store. The name of my store is Shirley's Clothes Closet and Things, and it's located at 520 West Orange Avenue.
What was your primary career?
My primary career in life, I guess, was actually working in state government, even though my goal in life is that I actually wanted to teach, and that's what I did do for a while. But I worked in state government for 31 years, and that's where I retired from. And I became an agency head. I headed up the third largest agency in state government, and I had 6,000 employees, and I had a budget of $2.4 billion, so I had a lot of money to handle.
Miss Shirley, what volunteer work do you do now?
Basically, I do my volunteer work in terms of going to the store, and I'm only open 3 days a week, but I also work with my church. I'm very active and involved with my church. I do things there, and that's basically what I'm doing in the community right now. And anything where there's a need, particularly for the children.
Why is it important for seniors to be active?
Once you retire, I think that if you just stop, life stops. And you have to continue going and doing and helping. And I'm a big believer in helping. And seniors, I don't want to say it like this, but I don't know of any other way to say it, is that if you stop doing anything, then you die. And I'm not ready to do that.
What have you done at the senior center?
Gilberto, here at the Senior Center, I was on the foundation board for 10 years. And that's the board that raises money to keep the programs going here at the Senior Center. And also, I was a greeter. I love people. I love to be around people. And it was fun to be at that front door and to say hello.
Miss Shirley, how does it feel to be recognized as a Silver Star?
First of all, it was a surprise. I've been involved with the Senior Center for a long time. And so I retired. When I retired, I was here frequently. And when I got a call about becoming a Silver Star, I was a little bit shocked, a little bit surprised, but very honored and very grateful. And I think those are the kind of things that you look at and say that, somebody recognized what you were doing as being pretty good.
What advice would you give a dapper man like me?
1, be the very best that you can be in whatever it is, because anything that you want to do, you can do it. Always, always look at yourself and say, I can do that. I believe. And you just have to believe in you.
As Shirley and Gilberto come up, a few little additions here to what we just learned about Shirley in the video. As her mom always stressed, you should do your best and people will see your good work. And indeed, Shirley, as you intimated in that interview, your good work has not gone unnoticed. Now, this state government job, she was talking about the third largest agency in the state of Florida. Well, actually, she worked under 4 governors while she was heading up the Department of Labor. And by the way, she was the first African-American woman to do that here in the state of Florida. But she got to report to Governors Graham, Mixon, Martinez, and Childs. And around the Senior Center, Gee, that has been almost as much work because in addition to serving on the board for 10 years and being the greeter that you talked about in the video, and you may have seen her at the Deck the Halls event. She's one of the Martini girls, but don't tell anybody. All right. She advises seniors to continue that life of service that she has exemplified so powerfully. Don't let life pass you by. Stay involved as much as you can. Shirley Gooding-Butler is certainly not letting life pass her by. Also, during this Soul of Southside week, why not visit her store down on Orange Avenue, and let's see if we can get a few words from Shirley Gooding-Butler.
Thank you very much. This is indeed an honor. Could my dapper friend come up here with me and stand close? This young man was just fabulous doing the interview. And as you notice, he has on his bow tie, and no, he doesn't have the hanky in his pocket tonight. But that's a really dapper young man and a very smart young man with a lot of personality who's going a long ways. I just again want to say thanks for selecting me for this honor. When Sheila called me, I was truly shocked. I just figured no, but thank you again. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to serve.
We have a twofer next in our Silver Stars Award Galaxy this evening. Ted and Sarah Houston, interviewed by Evan DeHennis and Juliet Friedman. Come on up, folks. Well, back in the 1960s, a young Ted Houston was determined to meet the teenage girl playing football as well as the boys. And we thought gender equality was a new invention, right? Well, now 57 years later, Ted and Sarah Houston are grateful for the full life and many blessings that they have enjoyed over those many years. So please turn your attention to the screen and let's meet the Houstons.
Mr. and Mrs. Houston, tell me what you do to stay active at your age.
We are a retired ministerial couple. And so because of that, we are very active with various churches in the community, teaching Sunday school. We're also active at the Lincoln Center, where we participate in the Friends program, which is a partnership. We do exercise program, which they have on Tuesday and Thursdays, and with the Salvation Army, I'm on the board of directors.
We have been volunteers with Shine, Elder Care Services.
Shine is serving the insurance needs of the elders. And so we had to differentiate and try to tell them the opportunities for them to be better insured for their health care.
And so many people would say, do we have to pay you? And we volunteered over 20 years with Shine.
How do you feel about being a Silver Star?
Our friends tell us you're very deserving because you've been so active. You know, my kids always tell us we have to make an appointment to see you because we never know when you'll be home or not, you know.
What was school like when you were a child?
A lot of fun. Yes, a lot of fun. High school was fun. I left high school and went to the Air Force. Came back from the Air Force and went to college. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
I was always interested in math, so I ended up majoring in mathematics at college. And at college, I went to FAMU. I enjoyed that because it was an opportunity to go on the other side of town. I worked first at the high school I graduated from. So my first job was at Lincoln High School. And some of the kids were older than I was.
Where did you grow up, and what was it like there?
I was born in Tallahassee. It was very different. Tallahassee was nothing like it is today. Single streets. West Tennessee Street was a two-lane street.
I was born in Tallahassee, Florida. I've lived here all my life, and I grew up in the Griffin Heights community. So I went to Griffin School, Raleigh School, and also, we walked to school. I never rode the bus.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I thought my mom would be able to send me to college so I could get on the doctor's track for medical school. But the funny thing happened, she said, well, I don't think I can send you to college. So I said, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll force her hand. So I went and volunteered for the Air Force. And I said, I know she's not gonna send our only baby boy to the service. So I brought this letter home, this piece of paper, said, you need to sign it. If you want me to go to the Air Force, sign this. She said, well, where do I sign? She shocked me.
Is it difficult being a pastor?
It's always difficult being a pastor because you have so many personalities to deal with. There's no way you can be a pastor if you don't love people.
Can you tell me what it was like being a pharmacist?
Pharmacy is a position where you love people also. It's very special because you get to tell people how to take care of themselves with their medications.
What advice would you give kids our age?
Okay, we have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and the ages for the grandchildren are from 7 to 24. So we are constantly giving them advice and love one another, love the Lord, and love community. Because in order for us to survive in this world, we have to have love.
The Houstons! And folks, we have a little more information to share with the people here tonight. I don't, now Pastor, I don't know if we could call you folks retired. I don't know if you meet the qualification list that you have to have that title, because the whole town is really grateful that you folks have worked and lived here and contributed your passion for service and community involvement to the entire community. I think Sarah's mom had something to do with that, though, which you describe her as a community giver. And there's something else that people need to know. You folks are also on the verge of doing a little world traveling. I think Thailand is in your future, a trip out there. And of course, as you already said in the video, all things FAMU are very, very important to the whole Houston clan. And this could be a Houston summit, perhaps, because you have so many friends here tonight. Every Thanksgiving, I believe, is when the clan gets together and the family comes to talk about subjects from health to wealth and everything in between. And the participation you have in the Upslide Friends Connection Group, another understatement based on the number of friends who are involved in that. But you never get in the way of a pastor and a microphone. And I'm going to allow Pastor Houston to say a few words here, and Mrs. Houston too, if you would like to kick in.
Humble yourself under the hands of Almighty God, and He will exalt you in due season. I am so ecstatic and humbled by this honor. And my pastor used to tell me, Dr. Bird, a man is not a man until he can cry. And so I thank God for you and for the committee, but most of all, for my honey.
I thank my friends that are here with us tonight, and we do appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Moving along on our Silver Stars presentation this evening, the 20th annual. And thanks again to all of the sponsors, the volunteers, everyone who was connected with this illustrious event and these remarkable people whose stories we're telling tonight and whose accomplishments and contributions we are honoring. Next up is Joan Kanan, interviewed by Isabel Williams. Now, Joan Kanan is passionate about helping people get involved in their world and, of course, to stay active. And she dreamed of working in an embassy or in civil rights and majored in social studies education at Florida State University. And there she earned her bachelor's and master's degrees. She loved teaching and became president of the Teachers Union in the 1980s, and later in her career, she worked as a cabinet aide, a lobbyist with the Florida Association of Counties, and also as an adjunct professor. Now let's just see what Joan has been up to since she retired at age 70, shall we?
Where did you grow up and what was life like back then?
I grew up my first 9 years in an apartment building in Boston, Massachusetts. And in those days, we had an ice box, and the ice was delivered to our house by a horse-drawn wagon. And my mother had a washing machine, but we hung the laundry out on a clothesline. And then when I was 9, I moved to Florida, and we lived on a lake, and so I learned how to swim. And I had a bicycle for the first time, and I loved riding my bicycle around Orlando. And things were a lot different then. We didn't have air conditioning, we had screened windows, and we had like hook and eyes on the door, and that's the only security we had, really, were hook and eye doors.
Miss Joan, why is it important to stay active?
It's very important for me to stay active because I have grandchildren, and I want to stay young and vital for as long as I can. My dad lived to be 101, and he was still walking and playing cards up to the very end of his life, and that's my inspiration. I would like to be like that.
Miss Joan, when you were a kid, did you like making art?
Actually, no. I didn't get involved in making art until I was an adult. Well, I learned how to paint at the Tallahassee Senior Center back in 2010. I was retired, and I saw where they were offering classes here, so I came here and I did take a clay class where I learned to do some hand building, and then I took a painting class in acrylics with Charles Hazlip. Just kept improving, I guess, and I became president of the Art Council, and just started selling my work at a gallery in Thomasville, and I just really enjoyed what I was doing.
Miss Joan, what do you do on a daily basis?
My main activities are walking. In the summertime, I swim, and I walk my dog a couple miles a day. I clean my own house and paint my walls sometimes, and I paint and work in my garden. So those are the things I do to keep active.
Miss Joan, what advice would you give someone my age?
Well, I think everybody should be kind and put yourself in somebody else's shoes to have empathy for what they're going through so you have a greater understanding of other people's. Educate yourself as best you can. When the opportunity comes to travel, take it and try new things.
Miss Joan, tell me about the League of Women Voters and what you do with them.
Back in the 1920s, before women had the right to vote, they had an organization called the Suffragettes, and they demonstrated and protested and went to jail to win the right to vote for women in the United States. The League of Women Voters was born out of that movement. So the major goal of the League of Women Voters is to get people registered to vote, to educate them on the issues that people are voting on. We're nonpartisan. We don't support candidates. We do support issues like education, healthcare, things of that nature. But our main thrust is to get people registered, educated, and vote.
Miss Joan, what do you like about the Tallahassee Senior Center?
The Senior Center is a fantastic opportunity for people over 50, 55 to explore new avenues, to experience new subjects they haven't learned before, and enjoy so many activities, some mental, some physical, but they're all enjoyable.
Miss Joan, how do you feel to be selected to be a Silver Star?
I'm thrilled to be a Silver Star Award winner. I was really surprised when I got the call that said I had been selected as one. I've always admired the people who got selected, and it's a real honor to be in that same category, and I'm just really both humble and proud that I was selected.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joan Kanan. Just one or two other items here. You can, as you saw, Joan is very dedicated to her art, and you can actually see some of her artworks at the Wiregrass Art Gallery up in Thomasville. She has 2 daughters, 2 grandsons, of which she is immeasurably proud, and her close family enjoys dinners together, going to the beach, spending time in nature, traveling together, and advice to her peers from Joan is quoted as follows: stay positive, stay involved, stimulate your mind, get out and do things, and seniors still have much to contribute, so be sure to make the best of the time you have, and this time, Joan, is yours.
I want to thank Isabel. She's a wonderful young lady.
Thank you.
And I want to thank my family and my friends for being here. And again, the only thing I can say to you is stay involved, get active, and try and leave this world a better place than we found it. Okay.
Our next Silver Star of the evening, a sprightly young man of 87, is Jim McMichael, interviewed by Raymond Weber. Now, we're very fortunate that Jim is here with us today. Right after filming his video, he took off. He left for a month-long trip to England by ship and just got home in time to be here this evening. So his arms weren't tired, but I think his legs and the rest of him probably was. That was a long swim back from England for sure. A good example of how busy this guy likes to be, and he really lives up to his mantra of not believing in being idle. Jim only recently retired 2 years ago. When many people might be slowing down in their 60s, Jim promptly began 2 new careers. And let's get some more information about those careers and Jim McMichael.
Tell me about your family.
I was born in Greenville, Michigan in 1934 in my grandmother's house. I was born in the front bedroom. But I do remember that my dad had a job, and we were very fortunate because there weren't too many jobs around. But I was the big brother, and I basically raised my brothers and sisters because I was the responsible one in the family. So,
what kind of business did you own?
I owned a financial planning business, insurance, investments. I was one of the early financial planners in this country. People never even heard about it. And I've written one book called The Spiritual Style of Management that was named the best book for business by the North American Booksellers Exchange. I have to confess to you, Raymond, that I don't always follow through. I've got 3 unfinished books sitting on my shelf right now, and I really need to get them going. I need a good publisher who will kick me in the butt and make me work at it a little bit harder. So,
why did you decide to work in politics?
You know, there's an old saying that if good people aren't involved in government, then you're going to get what you get, which is what I think we get. I ran campaigns for mayor, for Congress, for governor, and for president.
Which president did you work for?
I worked for 4 presidents. My first appointment was President Eisenhower, then President Kennedy, then President Johnson, and President Nixon.
Tell me your story of your visit with President Johnson.
President Johnson invited me to come for the signing of the Older Americans Act. I went, and I'm standing there waiting for my turn to get the pen, which he signed a little bit of his name. And in back of me were just all kinds of photographers, there. So I walked up to him, and he handed me a pen. Now, President Johnson was 6'4", you know. I'm about 5'10" at that time. And so he just towered over me. Well, I had my back to all the photographers. And he said to me, he grabbed me by the shoulder, he says, "Turn around here, Bo, and let them get a good picture of you." He turned around and he handed me the pen again. And I'll never forget that. I still got that pen hanging up in my wall.
What do you do to stay active now?
Well, the first thing I do every day is take the dog out for a walk. And she's 15 now, so we used to walk 2.5 miles. And then it was 1.5 miles. And now I'm lucky if I can get her to walk a 1/2 mile, because she just stops and she says, "That's enough." Lately, I've been, well, in the last 20 years, since we moved out to Lake Tallahassee, I've been very active in our homeowners association. I've been on the board a number of times, as vice president a couple of times. I've started a lot of programs out there. I'm very active in our church, always have been. Our priest, I'd much rather have our priest take care of the spiritual needs of the parish, and I'll take care of the financial needs. And I've done that for a long time. But I'm also a Eucharistic minister, which means I give the body and blood of Christ to people in our church. I've been a lector. I've been coordinator of ministries. I've done just about everything you can do in the Catholic Church.
What did you study in college?
When I got a scholarship to go to school, which I never expected, or I'd still be selling shoes in Greenville, Michigan, I think. My chemistry professor gave me an all expenses paid scholarship to any school of my choice. And so I decided to study psychology. I was going to be a policeman at first. And then I got a master's degree in public administration. And then I ended up getting a PhD here at Florida State.
Tell me about your career at FSU.
And so they asked me if I'd be interested in teaching this program called the Certified Public Manager Program. And so I started doing it. I did it for 36 years, you know. After we went to Zoom classes and stuff, I didn't really care much for that. I decided at age 87, maybe it was time I retired. So I did.
Jim McMichael. And folks, even though Jim mentioned that he's, as a teacher, not a big fan of Zoom classes, and he certainly is not the only teacher with an aversion to that technology, but he is by no means a technophobe. This guy has a podcast, okay? It's called, and it's sent out bi-weekly. It's called On Our Spiritual Journey. And as he intimated there in his video, Jim just believes that God creates us to do good things, and he likes to exemplify that in the flesh as well as in the spiritual realm. And we heard all about the President's Advisory Council for the Administration on Aging. That story about President Johnson was just incredible. So we want to get a few words from Jim, but first, because you've got those 3 books on hold, we were thinking maybe after this you can hook up with Laurie Hosford, and maybe you guys can get this going, you think, at the Writers' Workshop? Okay. Jim, please, a few words.
Thanks very much, Tom. Hello, everybody. I thank you, Raymond, for being my interrogator. He did a great job. He really did. When they called me and said, we'd like you to be a senior star for the Tallahassee Senior Center, I thought, well, wait a minute. I haven't lived in Tallahassee for years. I live out here in Lake Tallahassee. But they didn't care. So anyway, here I am, and I'm very, very grateful. And I'll tell you, it really is an honor. But I think I can share this with all the honorees. We don't do this for honors. Yeah, we don't. We do it because it's what we're called to do. It's what we're placed on earth to do. Isn't that right? And so I appreciate the honor very much. I really do. But what I appreciate more than anything else is that God gave me the ability and the time to be able to go out and serve others. And that's what I want to do with my life. And I want to work with young people like Raymond here and see them grow and have a great life ahead of them. And if we don't do something to make this environment better and to make our world better, he's not going to have much of a life. You know, so let's give Raymond a good life, all right?
Oh my gosh. We are moving on. Our next Silver Star Award winner this evening is Jewel Vickers, interviewed by Wesley Daniels. Now known as the Crown Jewel, Jewel retired 6 years ago at the age of 71. If not volunteering at Jake Gaither or Smith Williams Community Centers, she's serving fellow church members at the Greater Mount Pleasant Church and has been doing so for the past half a century, where she sings in the choir, plans special celebrations, comforts grieving families with her healing menu of collard greens with country smoked meat and ham hocks, which is good for whatever ails you, along with old-fashioned cornbread dressing with secret seasoning, although she might be persuaded to share, sweet potato bread turkey and ham, string beans, rice and field beans, and red velvet cake for dessert. Well, let's see Joel in action with the video.
Tell me about growing up in a family of 14 brothers and sisters.
I was born in Sycamore, Florida, right on the other side of Greensboro. And it was a lot of fun growing up with all of them, but I was the fifth, and the older ones, yes, they did. They were sort of like strict, like they was my parents, the two older ones. But it turned out it was real nice. Everybody was sort of helpful to each other.
Miss Jewel, when you were a child, what were some goals you wanted to achieve?
Well, I wanted to live away from home, and I wanted to join the military. And that was my one game, but I didn't do it. I just decided to wait until later.
What were some goals that you finally achieved?
I went back to college, and as it turned out, I was at TCC, and then I went to FAMU, and then I had put in for a position at the post office as a mail carrier, letter carrier, and I ended up getting that job, so I didn't complete the 4 years at A&M. But it turned out real good. I did 28 years of postal service.
Miss Jewel, tell me about your family.
Well, I was married to a military guy. He was in the military, had 5 kids, and we traveled all over. We went to Germany, and we went to Texas, Kansas, most of all the southern states we've been to. And it was just fun. Kids born here and there, Germany and all over. So, and it was just fun, but it was always nice to come back home after traveling all over. But it was nice.
So tell me what you do to stay active.
At my age, I do quite a bit. I do a lot of cooking. And I like going to the senior citizen place every day. We go Monday through Friday. And just like I said, interacting with the other seniors there and once a month we have a birthday, and I'm on that committee where we give each person that's born in the month a birthday gift, and that's from the seniors there. We have a group of 5. And we crochet, we do puzzles, we do bingo, and we exercise. We do a little bit of everything, and mostly it's communicating with the other seniors. And just nice, and we love to eat. We, cook sometime, but mainly it's just bonding with each other.
Miss Jewel, what do you do with the senior games?
Oh, it's every year I participate in the senior games. This year I did the bowling, goal. Saturday we did shot put and discus, and I did silver medal in that. And Sunday horseshoe, did silver in that. And Monday, one of the other seniors beat me out because we had more seniors this year, but it was fun seeing everybody again. I won 3 silver medals and 1 gold. Last year I did more.
How do you think aging has changed your lifestyle?
Well, aging has changed some because you can't do the things that you used to do, like run and all of that stuff. And you have to be careful walking and just be, you might put something down and take you a little while to go back and find it, but eventually, it's there. One of my other little activities that I do, I watch the wrestling, and I know it's not real, but that's one of my pastimes, watching wrestling, and you don't bother me when I'm doing that.
So, Miss Jewel, what advice do you have for kids my age if we want to grow up to have a positive and good life?
Well, my advice, don't follow the crowd.
Do what you're supposed to do. Always mind your parents, and be mindful of the crowds that you keep around you. You know, you got to do what you're supposed to do and not listen at somebody else, and you'll stay on the right track.
And we're all looking forward to Jules' upcoming comedy special on Netflix, okay? One thing, now she mentioned that she was working for the post office, but what she didn't tell you is when you were a mail carrier, your final route was down there in Woodville. That was rural Route 44. And not only did she deliver the mail, but she also checked on the well-being of all the folks along her route, and every now and then she might bring a few little goodies to go along with it. Folks, there's no more I can say, but I'm sure Ms. Vickers can tell you some more. Jewel, it's all yours.
I would just like to thank everyone for coming out and for believing in me, and I'm just so happy, and just happy. And I do what I do because I love helping someone else. If I can help someone else as I travel along this road, my life here wouldn't be in vain. And my friend Wesley, a neat young fellow, 4th grade, and I just love him. Thank you. Love him. Thanks to everybody.
We have another duo coming up here for our Silver Star Awards. If we could ask Charles and Jeanetta Scriven, interviewed by Iris Becker and Rory Hageman, to come on up. Now, Charles and Jeanetta have been married, well, I mean, they're newlyweds. Let's give them some due here. They've been married for 68 years. And they share a lot in common through their ministries and their volunteer service. And we're going to hear a lot more about that. If I could please turn your attention to their video.
How did you two meet?
We met at Stanton High School. I had just entered high school in 10th grade, and at the school they were having a pep rally or some kind of rally. We were outside, and he was one of the students who spoke that morning. And I kind of had my eyes on him. I remembered just part of his speech where he said, "My dad told me a man lacks 2 things, a pretty woman and good food." Well, I wasn't looking to see him anymore. That was the first time I saw him.
She has been the mainstay of the family. When I was a boy, we used a term called standing on your shoulder. And briefly, that meant we would hold another boy on our shoulder where he could reach something we were trying to get to. And she has been that kind of person.
Reverend Charles, what are some things you have accomplished during your career?
When I got out of the Army, I needed a job, and I applied to the Jacksonville Police Department, and I was selected. And after being on the police force for 2 years, I felt a call to be a minister of the gospel. I stayed on the police force from 1955 to 1975, and I was appointed police chief, the first black police chief in the history of Jacksonville, and there became a vacancy on the Parole and Probation Commission, and I was appointed to the Parole and Probation Commission in 1975, and that's how I got to Tallahassee, and been here ever since.
Did you two ever work together?
an Irish one thing we have done together is to delivering meals to seniors who are shut in, and that was a very warm-hearted thing to do. I can't say I enjoyed it, and just know how thankful they were. You know, when you deliver, they're just so thankful.
Reverend Charles and Mrs. Scrivens, what do you do to stay active in your retirement?
So I don't really see where I've retired. I'm always maybe looking for a job, looking for somewhere where I can be useful and help people.
I volunteered with Big Ben Hospice. Between Big Ben and Meals on Wheels, over 20 years of service volunteering. And I did that until maybe 2 years ago. My husband had a stroke, so I was not able to do that, but I'm still busy.
Miss Jeanetta, what was your life like growing up?
I grew up in a time when kids did not have a lot, and we created a lot of our toys. We made our own paper dolls. We were poor, but we had a good life. We enjoyed it. I had 2 sisters, and the 3 of us got along very well, and we had so many little games that we could play and make up, and at night, going to bed, we would tell stories to each other, and so it was a fun time. I finished high school and got married. My husband encouraged me to go further with my studies, which I did, and finished college. Got my degree in education and taught for 32 years.
What has made your marriage last so long?
I would say you got to give a little and take a little. And I think today with couples, it's different. If things are not going well, they don't try to work it out. The marriage isn't a fairy tale thing like you read, you know, happy ever after. You have problems and things, but you have to work through them.
And never marry the person you can live with, but marry the person you can't live without.
Words of wisdom from Charles Scriven and wife Jeanetta. By the way, another addition to their long resume of accomplishments was the pastoring of a small church, Tallahassee Corinth Christian Fellowship over in Midway. Massive congregation, 14 members, I believe, was in the congregation. And we already heard about the chaplainship at Big Bend Hospice, what is now HCA Capitol Hospital, also at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, ministers, volunteers, and just all around fantastic folks. Charles and Jeanetta, the podium is yours for anything you'd like to say.
First, I would like to say that I've always been a behind-the-scene person. You know, I would do whatever I was going to do. Wasn't looking for any praises or anything. And this was a total surprise, and it has been a big honor. And I just appreciate everyone who has been involved in it. And I'd like to say that I enjoyed my years of volunteer work. Growing up, my mom always told us that no matter what you're doing, be the best of whatever you're doing. She said, if you just sweep the streets, be the best street sweeper. So that grew up with me, that I enjoyed volunteering so much that it's just something I just looked forward to. It made me happy, and then it made me happy to know that I was bringing joy to others. And I'd like to say, after retirement, please stay busy. Volunteer, do something, do anything, but don't go home and sit in the rocking chair. Because I tell you, you're going to feel better being busy. And I've enjoyed everything. I appreciate the family and friends who are sharing with us, and I appreciate Iris and Laurie. You girls did a great job.
While this might sound a little immodest, I was voted almost best looking in my high school class. People do not know, and I realized early in my life, it's an opportunity and a privilege to be able to help people. And I never try to pass up an opportunity to be God's little helper. I want to thank my friends who are sharing with me tonight, and my older son, Lansing. I named him in honor of a doctor that I met many years ago, and he thanked me whenever he did me a favor. And that made such an impression on my life. And it's an opportunity to be able to help people, and that is what service is about. Thank you so much for sharing with me on this occasion, and especially my baby brother, Cody Adrian. Cody, hold up your hand, please. And Randy and Pat Desolate. They have made the difference in our lives here in Tallahassee. I came here at age 42, and we are going to Tampa to stay with our older son at age 85 and 90. Of course, you remember the story of Abraham and Sarah. And one advantage we have, we know where we're going. And my wife has been a little nervous, but I told her everything will be all right. God bless you.
Well, we have one more Silver Star to honor this evening. But before we do that, I wanted to give a shout out here to Anne Marie Small's fourth grade class at Cornerstone Learning Community for doing fantastic work on the interviews. And folks, we have 3 reporter openings over at WFSU. I will expect your resumes on my desk next week. All right, we again have had some brightly shining stars here this evening. And our final honoree of this evening is a particularly luminous star, one that has graced the little screens in our homes for many years. And that individual is Anna Johnson-Riedel. And Graham DeBelder, who did the interview of Anna, please come along here too. And Tony Carvajal, if you could also come up with these folks here, because I think you'll have some additional information to share on this. Now, this is a singular honor that we have here. Our own Anna Johnson, a Silver Star, and the folks at the Senior Center kind of had to wait until she retired, if that's even a word. It's a word that we kind of hear in the abstract tonight, because no one has ever retired here who is a Silver Star for sure. But we want to hear from Anna herself about what makes her a Silver Star, and we found a new medium called video that can show us some more about that.
Miss Anna, what do you do to stay active?
Well, Graham, I'm very active, even at my age. I get involved in my community. For many years, I was involved with United Way. I was involved with the Jerry Lewis Telethon with Jean Deckerhoff. I've been involved in raising funds for various organizations in Tallahassee. I have a bunch of children and a whole bunch of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And so they keep me very busy. Graham, did you know that I used to host the Silver Stars for many years? And I loved it because I got to meet all of the wonderful people in Tallahassee that were making a difference. To put me in that category with all the other wonderful people in this area that do so much for other organizations and other people was a tremendous honor to me.
Miss Anna, how did you begin your career at WCTV?
That was a long time ago. I found out that WCTV was looking for a receptionist. So I went up and I applied for the job. And while I couldn't go to college, I decided that I wanted to learn everything about the television industry. So I got the opportunity to learn from all these people. And it was good because I just started moving up. And then one day they said they would like for me to be on the air and do the weather. I said, oh my goodness, I don't know anything about the weather. But I went back and I read the Weather Wire and I started doing it and I started learning and voila.
I hear you have a story about an elephant.
One year when the circus came to town, they asked so-called TV celebrities to ride an elephant. Well, I thought, how bad could it be, right? Well, I can tell you, I knew that I was going to fall off. We took off for the Civic Center, and I'm telling you, I kept trying to tell the trainer that was leading the elephant that I wanted to get off. He didn't speak any English. He only spoke German, and he didn't understand one word that I said, so I had to ride the whole way. That was quite a ride.
What advice do you have for a kid like me?
Well, I kind of wish that I had studied harder, but it's very, very important that you study hard, you make good grades, so that when you graduate, you could do just about anything that you want to do, especially if you want to go to college.
Talk about the funniest moment that happened to you when you were on live TV.
The funniest moment that happened on live TV was I was interviewing the Rattlesnake Roundup up in Wiggum, Georgia. And this man brought this huge rattlesnake down, and he took it out of the bucket. And when it came out of the bucket, guess where it decided to go? Straight for me. And I ran for the desk, and I jumped up on my desk with my feet up in the air. But the other funny thing was, when it couldn't get me, it took off for my cameraman. And you see the camera drop because they took off too. But that's probably one of the scariest things that ever happened to me.
Well, Anna, I'm going to turn it over actually for a moment to Tony for any additional commentary, and then of course you can comment as well. But I taught as an adjunct professor a journalism course over at Florida A&M a couple years ago. And that course I know came after your adventure there at heading into the Civic Center, because one of the things that said in the textbook was, if you are a reporter for a TV station and the circus comes to town, do not ride the elephant. And if they bring a snake into your studio, run, okay? Tony, anything you'd like to add here?
So the only things that I would add is that I got a chance to meet you through this process when we started at the Armory, and your graciousness to me and to everybody in this room, whether it was on one side of the screen or at somewhere in the community working through the representation of so many great groups like CHP, has meant so much to so many of us. And you are a champion and absolutely a Silver Star. I turn over the stage.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I am so honored to be included in this group. I mean, those honorees tonight have been absolutely amazing, and I applaud everyone. Just amazing. I feel so blessed with my life. I've had a good career. I always say that I didn't retire. I say that I redirected my life. I really wanted to stay busy because I really think that's the secret to life and getting older and being happy and healthy. I had the opportunity after I left WCTV to work with one of the best HMOs in the country, Capital Health Plan, which was a joy for me. And I also worked with Bobby Bacon at the Earl Bacon Agency, who was just incredible. And now I'm really staying a little busy, not a whole lot. I'm involved with some wonderful people, including Pete Rizzo, who is here tonight with the villas at Killorn Lakes, which is a assisted living facility. But I love my life. I love my family who was here tonight. They're all here at that table. They said, don't introduce us, but I want you to see my family. I mean, they just are incredible. And I love this community. I mean, we're so fortunate to live in this community. And this young man here, Graham, he did a great job, didn't he? I mean, he's just great. Hi. I said, you know, Graham, this is different. Usually I get to ask the questions, but you did a great job, and I enjoyed meeting your mom and dad tonight too.
Thank you.
But thank you all so very much. I'm humbled. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I thank you all my friends who are here. When I walked in the room, I couldn't get to everybody. I loved all of you, so thank you so very, very much for being here tonight and honoring all of the Silver Stars. Thank you.
Good job, Graham. Oh my gosh, talk about stars. Oh my golly. Yeah.
I trained you guys well.
You did indeed. Well, this brings to a conclusion our 2022 Silver Stars presentation. Of course, it's not how old we are, it's how we stay active, how we serve, how we share what we are with others, the best of what we are. And if I could challenge each of us, keep moving, keep doing the things we love to do, and let's give all of our stars a huge round of applause and cheer ourselves on.
We have actually one more surprise here. When we have such a special star on stage, there's absolutely no way we can sunset. So one more presentation. Will you be leading us in that? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I am Tony Kilgore with Capital Health Plan, and I just really am so excited that I got to be here tonight and listen to all the stories. I look forward to this event every year, but especially this year, very much looking forward to honoring Anna. I actually grew up in Tallahassee, and I watched Anna as a little girl on television in the mornings and the evenings. And I never told Anna this, but I was a bit nervous when I got to meet the local celebrity, Anna Johnson, because she's so humble, but she truly is a local celebrity, and she truly loves the community. And we're so honored. We could not have had a better person represent Capital Health Plan for so many years. And so tonight, we would like to present to you a silver star on the Senior Center on the wall for the Galaxy Star. We'd like to present that to you this evening. So thank you so much. We love you.
So thank you so much, Tom. We've had a great night. I have a few more thank yous and a few different comments. I did want to mention something while she's not paying attention. Anna, for years you told me you couldn't be a Silver Star because you weren't old enough. I didn't think it was, but I saw those go-go boots and I know they've come back some. So I'm starting to have some questions here. I don't know. Congratulations again to all the Silver Stars, and thank you also for allowing me the moment just to share some final thoughts. I'll call this Houston Summit to order. First of all, thank you so much. And a 1 and a 2. I love that we mentioned that purpose leads to longevity. It's love in action. But as Dr. Jones noted, there are moments when we lose our way, dark days possibly, and all we need is a star to light that way. Each year we assemble lights from our community, a galaxy, as Tom pointed out, silver stars that shine bright, dapper people, grateful, humble, proud, almost good looking, adventurers, travelers, mentors, partners, those that show us that there is no minimum and no maximum age to making a difference. Today we have here policemen, pastors, pharmacists, PhDs, and pioneers, political players, postal workers, and published pals, so-called TV celebrities and elephant wranglers, teachers, marketers, and grand marshals, lobbyists, agency heads, shoe store managers, cuckoos, and financial planners, military men, fighters, female football stars, and podcasters, men who are men because they cry, and men who fell for pretty women and food. And boy, we love to eat, don't we? We also have a crown jewel or two, plus a martini girl mixed in. Something quite appropriate for a seniors club, I guess, right? We have the responsible ones from their family, who may need a kick in the butt, it seems like, an older sister to a horde, artist, medalist, and voter friends, fishers of fish and fishers of men. They are joined together today as a new forever family, a family of stars. You are placed right and well in the company of silver stars that preceded you, those that have come before you and those that will soon follow. Thanks for sharing your lessons. Here is what I heard. Don't believe in being idle. Never be afraid to try something new. Engage. A lesson so ingrained in this bunch that you best make an appointment if you want to see them, but obviously not while wrestling is on. We are reminded, study hard. Do what you're supposed to do. Be mindful of the crowd around you. Don't follow the crowd or listen to someone else's choices for you. Stay on track. Always and always believe in yourself. Be the very best you can be. Service to God, to country, to community, to self, to others. And don't just serve collards and cornbread. Don't forget the, was it red velvet cake? Is that what I remembered? I'll be right over, by the way. Words, deeds, and lessons are to be served up too. Contribute what you have learned, be useful, and help others. Care for and check in for those on your appointed route. Feed them food and meet their needs. Build better lives for the underserved. Minister to the homeless. Comfort the grieving. There may always be poor amongst us, those without much to hold, but they can still have a good life with a little help and holding along the way. Just remember that service to others starts at home. And remember, too, that you can't pastor if you don't love yourself, too. Be kind, be a giver, not a taker. Though it seems to make a love life last long, maybe take a little, too. It will keep them hanging around, apparently. Yeah, give a little and take a little and love a lot. Love, love, love. Love your neighbor, love one another, love the Lord, love the community. Love those you can live with, and love those that you can't live without. To survive in this world, you got to have love. Life is about someone else. Share your work aloud. Others see your good works. We see your good works. Tonight, you reminded us that God creates us to do good things, works through us to achieve so much. You are stars, silver stars, because you have taken what's been given and made much of it, and it's been quite a ride. We're reminded that there is lots of living left to do. To us all, you say, don't let life pass you by. Keep going and doing and helping. For when you stop, life stops. And we're not ready for that, are we? So never give up, even if you're elderly. We were charged tonight to stay positive, stay involved, get out and do. Let's heed their call. Godspeed, march on. That's enough until we meet again, but let's make sure we help someone else along the way, and let's make sure that we leave this place better than when we found it. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks, CHP, for your long-term commitment to the organization. Thanks to each of you who came to celebrate, and we look forward to seeing next year's Silver Stars. Don't forget that you can put your own stars on the Senior Center wall, and I hope that you'll join us in that process. Good evening. Thanks for being here.